Okay, why don't we call this meeting to order? Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we've got some public speakers on item AO3, our actions on the budget. I'd like to call up Rosalina McCollum, Muriel Bartolini, Chris Lawrence, Ann Faggy, and Emilio Torres.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Good morning. My name is Rosalina McCollum. I'm a teacher for adult education. Now, I'm sure that you guys hear countless requests to save a program or a school or a set of staff members. Every day you hear data, numbers, and testimonies begging for them to hear you out. You have had all sorts of information jammed down your throats. I do not envy the positions you're all in. Likewise, I'm not here to present numbers about adult education. You guys already have all that information. I'm not here to tell you what we do or who we serve. I'm here today as a parent, a teacher, and a voting member of this San Diego community. I kindly ask you to reconsider the decision on eliminating adult education. Today I represent all the young adults who could not make it in a traditional K-12 school. And I'm here to let you know that they not only need this alternative option, they want it. This program is designed for students who want to help themselves. These students wholeheartedly want to continue their education on their own free will. This is their only option. They cannot merely attend continuing ed, although continuing ed does provide a great service. A lot of them simply do not have the time to sit in class for some 50-some hours just to earn 1 credit. Please do not deny them this opportunity. In a district where we celebrate diversity, we are shunning those who are different. Not all children fit into the mold of a typical K-12 student. I have a 9-month-old daughter, just over there, and I hope and pray that she does not need a program like adult education. But if she ever does, due to some unforeseeable circumstances, I would like to know, as a parent and a community member, that she has an opportunity for a second chance. Now I ask you to give these young adults a chance. Let them show you that they can and will be productive citizens and decent human beings in our society. It's short-term solutions like this that are exactly why California is in its current financial situation. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Muriel Bartolini. I am the Vice Principal, Morning Voice, at Lindbergh Schweitzer. I have been a VP at 2 different sites within the last 5 years, Miller Elementary and now Lindbergh Schweitzer. Each one of these sites has 700 plus students. Miller, 98% military families, preschool through 5th grade. Lindbergh Schweitzer, preschool through 6th grade. At both schools, my number one priority was, and is now, safety. As a VP, I believe I must be highly visible to all students. I make it a point to be in classrooms daily and to be on the playground when I am not in the classrooms. Lindbergh Schweitzer is a dual campus covering over 110,000 square feet on 22 acres of land. I walk this acreage every day several times. Students know I am always close to any situation and there for them. I also share with my principal, Deanne Rohde, 231 IEPs, supervise 38 teachers, 45 classroom assistants, 2 separate offices, 2 simultaneous lunch periods on 2 sites, 11 therapists, 25 buses twice a day on both campuses, the county medical therapy unit, 2 full-time nurses, 5 custodial staff, a magnet program, prime time and say daytime programs, impaired family services, and multiple budget resources. This does not include my role with teacher support and training. I oversee our staff development monthly. I organize and attend grade level planning days and make classroom visits daily. Instruction is my passion. Since Principal Deanne Rohde and I have been at Limburg-Schweitzer, our API has increased by over 35 points. If Limburg-Schweitzer lost a VP, I would believe the safety and academic achievement of all of our students would suffer. I am also a member of a VP forum through USD, and I also am a member of VP group that we meet monthly. All of my colleagues within this group are just as devoted and dedicated to their position as an aspiring administrator. We are the leaders of the future, and we are looking forward to that. I am proud. This is my personal choice, but I wake up each morning at 4:30 a.m., check my email, set up my plans for the day, and head off to Limburg-Schweitzer. I return home every day at 7:30 with work in my hand. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I know my colleagues feel the same way. I stand before you today to let you know that my colleagues and I are in our jobs for our children. We go to work every day to keep all our students safe and to make sure they are receiving the education we all promise them. VPs are vital to our district's children's success. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Chris Lawrence, Mira Mesa High School, advanced placement physics teacher. I did not come here this morning to ask you to save a job, but to eliminate one. The science program manager position, which is currently posted in Human Resources, I strongly believe it is unnecessary. Poway Unified School District does not have anything similar, nor does San Diego. We've lived without it for a year just fine. The walls are still standing. So I think that would be a good place to begin the discussion this morning as far as cuts. Now, the teachers at Mira Mesa, the science teachers in particular, have all volunteered to build websites and do anything necessary to help coordinate this district science program, as well as making great progress vertically aligning mathematics and science. This can all be done on a volunteer basis. We want nothing money-wise. We just want the opportunity to do this. Now, I brought this to several of your attention many times. I don't believe in a cumbersome central office bureaucracy. The teachers can do the job if we're allowed to do it. I'm tired of seeing our students' programs cut while we add bureaucracy at the central office. Now, I've got 25 student volunteers, which took me 5 minutes to get at Mira Mesa High School, many of which were amongst the top 1% in our district. They all want to help. So too do the teachers. Allow us to do it. We will set the model. We've already begun vertically aligning, as I said, with our middle schools and our elementary feeder schools. We do not need program managers at a time like this. Now, please remove that posting at Human Resources. It's due to close this Wednesday. I'm asking you to close it today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my name is Emilio Torres. I'm a high school math teacher at Point Loma High School, and I also am a district intern, or was until a few days ago when this board cut funding for our program. Basically, the mission of that program was to take highly qualified candidates and shape them into future leaders in our district. My colleagues and I left our respective professions to heed that call, to come into high-needs areas of math and science and struggling schools to help out. These colleagues include naval officers. We have a college professor of math, an astrophysicist who left a research and development position, a Navy SEAL who's right here, so we should be careful. Software developers. We have a university athletic director, and myself. I left a law profession to come into this program under the promise that after 2 years we would receive our preliminary credential. Now, we completed a very successful first year at great personal cost, both to our previous professional careers and also to our pockets because of previous cuts to the program. We were very happy to do that because we came to teaching because we love it. It's what we love to do, and that we have no regrets. The problem is, if you're going to cut the program as it is right now, we're having the carpet completely pulled out from under us. We don't have a credential yet. We've only had 1 year of the program. Many of us have actual placement ready to go in the fall, but without an intern credential, there's nothing we can do. So we're in this state of limbo right now where our previous professions we've left behind, and now we're being told no in our current pursuits. And if you're going to cut the program, I mean, at the very least, it seems that there should be some fair and equitable treatment to people who are right in the middle of that program. Right in the middle of that program. Allow us to finish this at least this next year and get our preliminary credentials so we can continue teaching. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ann Faggy, the chair of the San Diego Children in Nature Collaborative, and I want to remind us that environmental literacy is more important than ever. The research shows that children who experience nature are much more passionate stewards in the environment, and we certainly need that today. We need to start with helping them see the wonder of nature and what's fairly special about San Diego, and that's why the outdoor programs have been so effective here in San Diego, including the outdoor school, which was actually the first in the state of California and is now almost 65 years. Our children need to become responsible citizens and leaders. They need to understand why the Gulf of Mexico is important. They need to understand why polar bears are important, but they also need to understand their local nature and why we make decisions in order to retain the values that our watersheds and other natural environments have. Secondly, we know that hands-on science and time in nature is both effective and affordable. And effective, I don't need to go over that, but I think the affordable one is a really important one. When we do nearby nature, as Shalia Jackson did with her students in Tecolote, yesterday I was reminded by the principal that she once worked under, who's now a retired principal and helping us with a collaborative. You also had a presentation from Rose Canyon on being able to take children to nearby nature and how effective and affordable that is. Palomar Outdoor School is also affordable to the extent that there's a lot of community support for that, and they're core experiences for children to have that Palomar, Balboa, and Old Town experiences with their local, what's in their neighborhood and their community. The community is contributing. There are naturalists that are willing to take children out on hikes, on walks. There's PTAs. There's the outdoor school support from parents. The San Diego Children in Nature Collaborative has more than 300 people that have been participating. We're now developing a 4th grade curriculum for coastal sage, scrub, and chaparral, and that'll be available, and that's being done not at the cost of the school districts, but by our community. So I ask you to keep the essential children's development elements of learning in nature and playing outdoors by retaining those outdoor programs. Thank you.
Okay, Irene Quintana, Lori Nixon, and Jose Eros.
Hi, good morning. I'm here to speak on behalf of the libraries, secondary libraries.
You're Irene?
I'm sorry, I am Irene Quinata.
Yeah.
Quinata,
yeah, okay.
I'm here to speak on behalf of our libraries, more specifically the secondary libraries, and my library that serves a campus of 4 small schools. Among the service of running the circulation desk, my duties consist of identifying and acquiring materials for teachers and the classroom based upon our current course of study. I control the inventory for the Williams legislation audit, and it's my understanding that we must be in compliance of this state legislature to remain open, and we have never failed. The library is a central venue for students and parents. I carry out my duties in a community with little or no parent participation. In an effort to reach out to these parents, the Library and Media Center gives access to the community so that parents can learn how to become more involved with their students academically. Activities take place in the library all day. After-school activities consist of tutoring, a Peacemakers Club, and a Media Justice Club, all of which use our library resources. These are critical activities for our community. Orientations are performed so that students learn about their available resources. Lessons are provided so that students become proficient with the district catalog and district provided databases so that they may prepare well-informed reports. Well-informed reports with support and resources that these kids don't have at home. Students come in before school, during their study period, at lunch, and after school without teachers. They're seeking help on book and internet research, on bibliographies, MLA formats, and technologies. The students are still learning how to use the technology. We serve walk-on college student service counselors that meet and track our students that are on a college path. They choose the library because it's centrally located among our 4 schools and the resources that we have, especially the Media Center, which is our computers. Please recognize and maintain the valuable resources that we offer and keep it for our students. The internet is not going to be free forever. Our kids need the books. They need to know how to use the books and do the research. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. Lori Nixon. As a staff member of the Palomar Outdoor School, also known as Camp Palomar, I've met thousands of students from all over the district. Not many of our colleagues can say this. I've met thousands of young people from Marshall Middle School to Bell, from National City to Scripps Ranch, from La Jolla to Skyline. I've worked, hiked, ate, and lived with 6th graders from every neighborhood of San Diego, and I really believe providing every student with a week in the Palomar Mountain State Park is something that our district cannot afford to eliminate. We realize many jobs and programs are up for discussion, but I know from personal experience that 6th grade camp is a life-changing experience. It's the only program that integrates every single member of the student body into a cohesive community. Camp is open to students of all abilities. Camp was the first time I really socialized with people with physical and mental handicaps. And as a staff member, I've led blind, deaf, and physically handicapped students through their camp experience. Camp also allowed me to make friends and bond with my classmates. I didn't really have any friends before I went to camp, and I know there's a lot of students out there who are the exact same way. And going to camp allows them to have that shared experience that they can bond on a deeper level, and plus bond with people they would never normally meet, like me. And I met my best friend at camp, and we're still best friends to this day. And if we didn't have camp, that never would have happened. We never would have met. And honestly, our earth is in big, big trouble. There's a terrible disconnect between our youth and nature. You would not believe how many kids we get out there and they look at the scenery and they're like, is this a picture? Is this fake? I'm like, no, this is what all the fake stuff is based on. And getting students out of their little bubble of San Diego, getting out of their little neighborhood, and seeing the bigger world that they're part of is something that is very, very important for them realizing that they are an integral part of our world and making it a better place. Let us fundraise. Let us find partners and sponsorships and people that are willing to keep our camp running. Camp Cuyamaca, they just got all sorts of partnerships and just build new buildings and at their campus. Please let us find additional funding. It's out there. Just let us do that, please. And camp is a week that changes lives. Let's keep it that way. And don't let your staff that is specially trained to keep your kids safe out in the forest, don't let us go. Because camp is a lifestyle, and we are committed to making that lifestyle continue. And in a couple weeks, we are calling all the people who have ever been affected by camp, been to camp, had students there, had kids there, or maybe that are going to be going there in the future. We're going to be meeting at North Park Community Park on June 26th, and we're going to be marching over here and letting you know that we need camp in our district. So please, let us find fundraising, let us keep our program, and keep our 6th graders out in the forest. where they belong. Thank you.
Okay, and in addition to Jose, we've got Kat Prindle.
Good morning, Jose Eros. Here we meet again after a couple of years. And I wanted to reinforce some of the things that Lori said. As you can see, we have very, very dynamic people working with us. And over the 20 plus years that I've worked there, I too have experienced what Lori is beginning to understand. I want to give a little bit different perspective in the fact that in reinforcing that the OSIL programs from 4th to 5th grade really are developmentally appropriate programs that add up to going up to Palomar. And I've always believed that part of our job is just simply having kids out there in that environment. As Lori has eloquently pointed out, we see from the most intelligent, most educationally intelligent students to the most challenged, seeing that moment of time when they're connected to their universe and their planet. Half the job is done by the environment, but the other half is done by the people that are there. They have over the years filtered themselves up to go to that program, and we found that in the last couple of years there's been an exodus of experience. And while we are making cuts, I think that sometimes having our nose so close to the grindstone, we forget to take a step back and see the bigger picture. And my concern is this: we are losing quite a bit of experience in the last 4 years. We've lost over 100 years of camp experience in terms of teachers and aides. And so I propose that, again, let's look at this in a way that I think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. And we're holding that at sometimes kids need to realize that sometimes people make the good decision for the right reasons. So we hope that you can get through this mess. We know what you're going through. And again, keep camp open and all those style programs, because your children need that. Thank you very much for your time and good luck.
Thanks. Kat Prindle and Patty Durkin.
Hi, my name is Kat Brindle. I'm a counselor with the San Diego Continuing Education Program. And I'm speaking on behalf of the San Diego Unified Adult High School Diploma Program. I work with adults 18 and over that come to continuing ed to complete their GED or high school diploma. Surprisingly, a large number of these adults do not want to settle for the GED. They want their high school diploma. It's a life dream of theirs that they were not able to accomplish, and it's all they talk about. No matter what they've accomplished in their life, they want to come back and get their high school diploma. At a recent graduation that we had in Balboa Park at the Oregon Pavilion, we've completely filled that Oregon Pavilion with graduates. We had over 400 graduates that showed up for the ceremony. Of those, at least 200 were from San Diego Continuing Ed. The other were from San Diego Unified Adult High School Diploma Program graduates. And they could not have been there without the partnership with adult education. They take that hard road. They don't mind that they have to do a lot of extra credits and they have to pass the California High School Exit Exam because that diploma is so critical for them. They work, most of them, they have children, and they can't complete all of their credits through the required minimum 54 hours per credit seat time required in continuing ed. Through the partnership we have, and we've had for at least 10 years, the joint high school diploma program with San Diego Community College District and San Diego Unified School District, the partnership is an ideal combination of seat time requirements as well as giving them a chance to do a few credits, especially credits we don't offer in continuing ed, such as biology, that they can do more in an independent study format that San Diego Unified Adult High School Diploma Program offers. They wouldn't be able to do a diploma otherwise. So it gives them that opportunity. The instructors, who I have a very close collaboration with, two of the programs that my students work with, are very professional. The students have to make every correction. They have to do an excellent job. This is no easy in and out, but it works with their schedule. Also, many of our students, at least 60% of the students that I have in my program, have learning disabilities of one type or another. And when they go to the high school diploma program, they have resource teachers that can and tutors and aides that can sit with them one-on-one and give them that extra help they need to be successful in completing a course like geometry or biology. So this has been a very, very successful partnership. Many of our students are in the middle of completing their high school diploma programs. Many, at all 6 of our campuses. We all have students, not just my campus, North City campus, but of all of our campuses. If this program were to suddenly be shut down out of the blue, we have many adult students who would be left hanging, unable to complete their diploma. If I were an adult in this situation, I would consider that wait a minute, you can't do that to me. I can't have spent the last 9 months completing all these seat time credits. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Patty Durkin, and I've been a camp teacher for over 30 years. I speak for the camp program, though I'm no longer there, and for the people, the experience that has been there for all those years. You've heard 2 of our fine teachers speak about camp. I want to speak about what camp means to all of the students there, the guidance that they have from their teachers in the cabin. There are 4 teachers, 4 cabins, or there should be 4 teachers in 4 cabins with 60-plus students in each cabin. This year, it's been reduced to only 3 teachers, not a teacher for each one of the cabins and those 60 students. I feel that they all should be led by a teacher in the cabin, that there needs to be a greater ethnic balance. One of the teachers that was lost this year was Jose, through being declared an excess. The experience that he has had for the last 25 years, 19 of them being a credentialed teacher, and before that being an aide up at camp, is invaluable. The human relations that he brings, and also a science background, and be an ethnic role model for the students there. We don't have the ethnic role models that we had before at camp, and so to have them taken away, I think, would be not the best. And so to let the leadership stay at camp, to have a teacher in each one of those cabins to guide their students, I think would be very important. And that's about what I have to say. I hope it continues. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I know that staff has been working in the last couple of days and has some updates on where we left off Thursday night. So Superintendent and Mr. Stover, if maybe you guys could take 10 minutes or so to explain the changes, and then we could get back to work.
Yes, thank you, President Barrera. Phil Stover and the CFO team have been working with the various central office and campus leadership over the last couple of days, trying to update where we left off on Tuesday with the decisions the board made on the deficit. He has updated the requirements. Before you have a couple of documents. One is the results from Tuesday night, so that's the starting point, and then the updated requirements for today. He'll identify certain changes that we want to propose to you. I think, President Barrera, I would ask that the board make a goal today to complete the final decisions for the budget. We have essentially 3 weeks to balance and adopt. It will take all of that time through the mechanical process of accounting and budgeting to get there, and we're on our way to a first read on the 22nd and a second read on the 29th. And time is of the essence. That's how I'll place it, and let me turn it over to Phil, who will walk you through the documents now.
Good morning, President Barrera, members of the board, Mr. Koba. What I'd like to do is take you through some of the items on your Saturday spreadsheet that you have in front of you. This is the equivalent spreadsheet to what you had before. It's formatted a little bit differently to make it a little bit more easily read. But I have some updates for you that in this case are good news from what we have done Tuesday. If you look at the top right-hand side of your spreadsheet there on the first page, it shows a deficit of $4.86 million that you would have to cut today, but we have some updates to that, and I want to just go over those updates. On the second page, line number 9, you'll see the trans-positive cash flow needs is now 0. It was $5 million on Tuesday night. We have, in consultation with Mark Young, our financial advisor, we have determined that with the reductions that you have made on Tuesday and the good work of an awful lot of people, that we believe that extra $5 million is not necessary for us to build into the budget at this point in time to accomplish our trans borrowing needs. So that's certainly good news. Line number 10, we got news last evening, and it is not reflected in the document because it just came in last evening, that due to the good work of the negotiating teams on both sides, we have successfully reached agreement on our health and welfare, and that is a $1.4 million reduction to the cuts that you have to make. So we congratulate all the folks.
Phil, say that again,
$1.4 million. So that line that is 3.85 is really 2.45. Again, late breaking news that is very, very good. So the 1.4 million comes out of that requirement. Then line 16 is new. Again, it's amazing how these things come in. Wednesday late afternoon on Wednesday, we received word that we have been given a $1.1 million additional dollars in SFSF funds. And we would like to use that $1.1 million to fund classroom teachers in the base core allocation model. And line 17 is also new. So 16 and 17. 16 is additional revenue. In 17, we would like to take the teachers that provide prep time in our CSR schools. We would like to fund them from restricted resources as well. They are currently funded by unrestricted resources, our general fund. If we can take $620,000 there, those lines 16 and 17 would further reduce the need for you to cut to $1.72 million. With the reduction in the trans cash flow, with the reduction in the health and welfare needs, with the additional revenue of $1.1 million, and with the transfer of revenue from unrestricted to restricted, your total need to cut today would be reduced down to $3.4 million. You would only have to approve $3.4 million in reductions today for us to be able to balance our budget. Now, we have an addition. We have added line 18. We have had several requests to have you look at, for different reasons, look at some of the reductions you made. Line 18 is a $70,000 reduction in the Council of Great City Schools and CSBA elimination. So we've added that back in. It's your choice. Obviously, what you do with that. And then line 19. We have added back in the $1.89 million for the adult education program. Again, we're not telling you didn't make a correct or a good decision. We're saying that we believe that the information that you had at that point in time needed supplementing and perhaps broken down more clearly into the different component parts of that adult education. So we have added that back in. But as it stands right now, we're at a $3.4 million reduction. Now, let me keep going down here. On line 25, line 25 was the $1.6 million reduction for the IMC. We have broken that down for you into component parts so that if you choose to make reductions in only part of the IMC program, you can do so. So lines 26, 27, 28, and 29 are 4 component parts of the IMC program that you could choose to reduce without reducing the entire program. And we've provided you some text there with some examples of what each of those components of the IMC program actually does. Line 30. You had Tuesday night. You had 27 community service officers that would be reduced if you had approved that item, which you did not. There were 5 vacancies in the vacancy list that you did approve to reduce. So that brings it down to a net of 22. So we had to reduce the 27 to 22 to make sure we were not double counting. So line 30 now, instead of 27 community service officers, would be 22 for $1.74 million. And we were asked to break down the OSAL program by program. That was not done before. So they're in line 32 is the $4.7 million for the elimination of the entire OSAL program. Lines 33, 34, and 35 break down the OSAL program by the 3 specific programs, and these costs are inclusive of transportation for the programs as well. So these are the programmatic costs and the transportation costs. So you can see that there. Line 41 and 42, again, is a little bit of an additional clarification or an option for you. Line 41 related to the landscapers, which is what you had Tuesday night, would require you to eliminate 10 positions, of which 4 are vacant. So we would lose 6 filled positions. Line 42, we broke out for you the 4 vacant positions, so that you would not have to eliminate any filled positions, and that comes to $210,000, line 42. So you have additional options there to eliminate vacant but not filled positions. Line 43 is the number you had Tuesday night, which was $3.69 million for the elimination of non-classroom resource teachers. Well, line 44, 45, and 46 provide you subsets of that again, so that you may be able to you will be able to decide to eliminate some but not all. You'll see that the 35 in line 44, 35 FTE, the $3.18 million represent magnet and IB support teachers, some of whom do indeed provide direct instruction to the children. 45 are central office, which you see would be 1 FTE in central office magnet, 0.83 in gate, and 0.2 in program monitoring. And then line 46 would be school sites, 3.65, which are teachers that are funded through a block grant at various schools. Line 47, again, is an aggregate amount in the adult education program of 1.89. Line 48, 49, and 50, we have broken that down for you, again, to give you more options so that it's not all or nothing. Line 48 is the adult education program itself, about half of the cost of the 1.89. Line 49 is the CBET program, which is the program that offers English language support to adults. And then they turn around and are asked to provide tutoring support to children from that training that they receive. And line 50 is a reduction in the work year for the adult education program that would result in $290,000 in savings, and that would be cutting the adult program in the summer, but maintaining the school year adult education program intact. So those are the changes that you have from what you saw Tuesday night. If we take into consideration all of the changes on the second page, the transfers, the added revenues, the negotiated settlements, all that good news, the reduction of the trans money, we are at $3.4 million that you would be required to cut this morning to enable us to balance our budget. We came Tuesday night with some bad news as far as other costs that we found. Now I bring you some good news on Saturday morning that the needed cuts are not as great as what we had anticipated Tuesday. So 3.4 would appear to be the number for you to dialogue and discuss this morning.
Okay, great. Mr. DeBeck?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Mr. Tover, there's some other items that a question at least I hope you can answer. If you can, I still want to talk, but this is a separate to this first reason I was recognized. How much would be saved by placing all 11 months instructional staff on 10 months. We already cut instructional days, and now we do have, in fact, on the books, a group of 11-month certificated employees, and I can't see why you'd have certificated employees working for all that time extra when there's no kids around. So I think there's got to be some reason why, or at least an amount that's worth. Because I think while all the emphasis has been on saving teachers, there is a certain amount of, I'll call it, extra time that teachers serve when there are no kids around, and I think that number might be significant, especially if you're considering $3.4 million, which is not as small as is pretty small compared to what I thought it was. Now I'll add one more piece. If I go back to my original comments about for 1% savings in across-the-board cuts, we save, by your data, not mine, we save, $9.4 million. That means that we wouldn't have to be sitting here and talking at all if we did 1/3% cut across the board. Because I divided the shortfall, and it turns out that you'll get all the money you're talking about by 1/3% salary cut across the board. And that means, if you stop to think of all these programs that these people are talking about, that we wouldn't even have to have that discussion based on that amount of money which you're currently mentioning. One last piece. As I look at this, and I'm looking at the very bottom of the sheet, you have, thankfully, divided out what you call the impacts on personnel into potential certificated and potential classified. Well, the potential classified is 351 full-time equivalents, which is probably be 600 people in my opinion, but that's 600 people's lives that are affected by the cuts that you've got on the table. All right? And on the other side, on the certificated side, you show that there are 169 jobs, plus, maybe make it 170 if you round up. Mm-hmm. None of those are going to lose their jobs because we've guaranteed those jobs. While I spent my whole life as a teacher, a little bit more on other things, I can't see why this institution believes that it can operate with that kind of ratio of cuts in classified. And while I'll always seem to make people mad when I say stuff, that's the way it is, If you have any ideas, that you're going to get people mad at you. If you don't have any ideas, nobody's mad at you. Okay? But the point is, I can't see why we continue to say the only people we value are the certificated staff. It may be the big elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, but I will. And I honestly believe that we're to the point now where you're trying to pick at stuff, and these people, I have people call me up saying, "Oh, save date, trash OSIL." We're cannibals. Okay? I'm not going to vote for any of these cuts unless I get some kind of percentage cut for the staff across the board, and I don't care if we have to go to impasse or whatever it takes.
Before Ms. Jackson, Mr. Sober, I don't know if you had any answer to this question that Mr. DeBeck asked about the 11-month to 10
We
month.
can certainly calculate the first question, yes.
Okay. Right. Ms. Jackson.
A couple of comments and then a couple of questions. First of all, when I bring some items up, people think that I am not appreciative of the staff. And let me say this to the central office staff. I'm very appreciative of your work. But we have to understand the business that we're in. And the business that we're in is to educate children. That is why we're here. So when we look at how do we balance our budget, we cannot balance our budget on the backs of the children, the core reason as to why we are here. I know last week when I mentioned about trimming the legal office, it caused a stir. And nothing personal, but we can, during this time of economic crisis across the city, we can always find and negotiate prices for our legal services. It is very difficult, though, for us to do our main core if we're always keeping it in a transition. We have to stop transitioning our schools, moving the staff around. We have to stabilize our schools so they can continue to produce the desired outcome for our students. My first question, following those comments, is item number 6. Item number 6 is updating the ending balance adjustment and changes to projecting ending balance as surplus. So are you suggesting that what is our ending balance going to be? Are you suggesting that we take $3.8 million from our ending balance?
No, I'm suggesting that during the original calculations that we made on the deficit of $79 million, that our ending balance has come in for 2009-10 $3.85 million higher than what we were projecting. So that is a positive.
Okay.
You notice that it's not in brackets there. That's a positive.
Okay. I just wanted
3.9 lower.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Robbins.
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to agree with Mr. DeBeck as far as the issue of coming up with ideas and making yourself unpopular with certain people and not saying anything and not getting in trouble with anybody. So I do think we do need to make some hard decisions today. One, in response to his comment on the rollbacks for salaries in terms of 1/3%, the problem is in terms of implementing that between now and the next week or two. We've been in negotiations with our employee groups for a period of time. We've negotiated concessions with some and not with others. So it's not as simple as being able to impose it immediately. So I think we're going to have to look at, for the meantime, look at what we can cut off of the list that we have. And I think that the best way to facilitate that is for us to, at some point, poll the board members in terms of where they're looking for the cuts, because it's easy to say I'm for this or not for this or against this, but we have to make it add up to a balanced budget. So I think it's better if each person puts it all together at once.
Ms. Nakamura?
Yeah, I've decorated the front of my desk here because one of the concerns I've really got is our core curriculum and what it is that we're staffing. I'm getting emails from people saying that the cuts for next year are deeply affecting the classroom, and are particularly with regard to supplies, that we have culinary arts classes that don't have any flour, oil, salt, for their classes and how they're supposed to teach that class without that. I'm worried about our textbooks. I'm worried about musical instruments that have to get paid. I mean, this is all, it's just symbolic. But, as we go through these cuts, I want to chime in on what Ms. Jackson said, that we're here to teach the kids. And we are cutting so close to the bone at this point. It's easy to lose sight of what's really going on in the schools and think, oh, this won't hurt, this will just a little bit here and a little bit there. And, I really think that we have to keep the balance of what is happening down on the ground. I made a proposal that we cut in the new area superintendents, which is $1.5 million for 2 years. And I short of being able to find it someplace else, unless we have some more retirements come in or something else come in that we don't know about. I hate to agree with the science manager, but I think we've got to take a look at what's really happening on the ground in our schools, because our parents are going to flee, and some of our kids simply aren't going to get the education that they need, because we're not going to have the materials, just core materials in our classroom. When you get up to 90%, 92% personnel, you can't continue to function like that as a school district. The idea of 1%, 1/3 of 1%, whatever it is, I agree that if we can find some way of doing a salary reduction that is small enough that we can get people to agree. We're talking about some key programs. I mean, adult education is terribly important. OSIL is important. None of these, and keeping our classified staff in the schools functioning. We've done that before. We've cut landscaping, we've cut custodian, we've cut all of that and lived through it, and it's not sustainable long term. I do have a question for Mr. Stover. Or Ms. Hueso, if she's here. There she is. How many retirements have we had come in so far?
Good morning, everyone. As of last week, Thursday, we have 45 total resignations, which was no change from the previous update that we had. So right now, we're at 45.
With 36 of those are classroom teachers?
Classroom teachers. The other would be other certificated.
It raises if they stay.
So what does that mean long term for, I mean, if this is, I don't believe it's going to hold like that, but, if we don't get more retirements, has that been taken, I assume is taken into account here?
Yes, one of the things that we will continue to monitor not only the separations but also any changes that happen at school sites with regards to staffing allocation, certainly if there is any change out of today's actions. We are still looking at needing to place at least 275 teachers that have been accessed from the school sites. So those are the numbers that we'll continue to monitor. This week we did notify schools to go ahead and validate the information they have previously submitted to Human Resources because we did have a conversation with principals regarding Tier 3 potential changes. So we wanted them to verify if the access that we had on record is still accurate or whether or not there were any changes that we needed to be aware of. There is still, of course, the hope that people will submit separations. However, they come when folks are ready to submit that information to us, so it's not anything that we can count on. I know in past there's been conversations about previous trends in previous years. For us, we have to monitor pretty much what we have on hand as we're working with this information.
We can't. We have to balance the books on actuals, not on what we hope or on trends. I understand that, and I think everybody up here does understand that. But I'm concerned that we really haven't seen any change over the last week. And I'm wondering if there's any type of incentive that we can give people to just, if you're planning on retiring, can we give them $50? Could you let us know early, and we'll give you $50 if you'll, step up to the plate?
I think early on there was conversation about what kinds of incentives could be offered. Again, this is one of those situations that it would be up to the individual to let us know. We can certainly encourage them. I know that
sometimes it's just a matter of getting that paperwork in, and you don't want to do it until the end of the year. So
absolutely. So we can only continue to encourage people that if they know they are going to be separating from the district, the sooner they let us know, the better.
Okay. Well, I still think an incentive of $50 would get us more quickly, but at any rate, So we've got some terrible work that we have to do up here, and I know that all of us, have a full day ahead of us. But again, don't forget about the classroom. Just don't forget about our core curriculum and what's going on. I do have to retract. I did vote to cut legal services, and that was based on a conversation that I had with our general counsel that I misunderstood. So I'm retracting my vote on the cut to legal services. But I still think, because it's penny wise and pound foolish, as an attorney, I do realize that litigation is out there. We're ironically a deep pocket, and we get sued all the time. So we need to have that representation.
Okay.
But thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. With the teacher intern program, and I appreciate Emilio, that was very clear. The understanding from the decision on Thursday night that I had was that we were going to allow the folks who had done their first year to continue with their second year. Is that correct or not? I just want to clarify with the staff what that cut meant.
Yeah, we've had discussions with Ann Yarrell, the program manager for the program, and she has informed us that it's really we have our BITSA program, our intern program, that she believes that with existing resources in-house, that the program can be continued for those that are already in it. That if a person is a fourth year, second year person, that they can apply for a year extension, and that we have the resources and the accreditation to be able to handle completing the program with our own internal resources.
And I know it's difficult for you to answer, Phil, but
she's here.
The cut to that program, as I understand, was about $80,000. So what then are we cutting?
Right.
So if folks who are in the program are able to complete their second year, are we just simply not bringing new interns into the program? Is that what's going on?
We would not be bringing new people into it. That's correct. But
Nellie, did you? Yeah.
If we did cut, we would be cutting hourly money that pays for the interns to go on Saturdays and after school. Materials money, we purchased books and materials for them as well. And if we did cut it, we would have the program. It is currently we can offer credentials, so we're accredited with that program, and we would risk losing that accreditation.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to say for the sake of it, it's an $80,000 cut, and I'm going to rescind my vote for that.
How did I vote?
Yeah.
I'm in favor of not cutting on that one also, and I was going to bring that up too.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got
the $80,000 is not worth it.
It sounds like we want to, by $80,000.
So we've increased the deficit by $80,000.
We just increased the deficit by $80,000.
Then,
but we'll start down again.
Hold on. Yeah.
We're going to start rescinding then.
I don't have to.
You don't, right? because you didn't vote for anything. So, with the I've got some questions then about the bargaining units, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And I don't know who's best to answer those questions.
About the status?
Here are my questions. So, my understanding is what's on the sheet in terms of 11 for OSS, the $0.47 million, and 14, the paras, the $0.53 million. Those should be stricken. And what you've done now is you've taken, because those were the health and welfare.
We need to take $1.4 million out of 11, 12. And 14.
Okay, so I think what it is, it's 11 is stricken, 14 is stricken, and then of 12, do we know or have an estimate? Does anybody here have an estimate of that 1.39? How much should come off of that now?
These numbers include the health and welfare and furlough portion.
I understand.
So it's both.
So, but of the 1.39 for OTBS. What portion of that is the health and welfare savings that was just agreed to last night?
We have that.
Does anybody have that? I just want to get this.
Wait, my turn.
Okay.
It would be $394,000, so the remaining piece would be about $1 million.
About $1 million for OTBS. Okay. So where we're at then is if we can reach agreements on the non-benefits with OTBS, and if we can get to an agreement with AASD, that's $2.5 million left, which would basically bring us down to about $1 million left to go.
If we could get 100 teachers to submit their resignations, that's $5 million.
You would have you would be down to under $1 million.
Under $1 million, right? Okay.
About $900,000.
Okay, Ms. Jackson and then Mr. DeBeck.
Okay, just a couple of things. If we want to clean up our work from Tuesday, we won't change any numbers, but you can send my votes on items 31, 32, and 33. It won't change the numbers, but it just puts me where I stand. The other thing, and keep wanting to go back to. I think that, yes, we do have to make hard decisions today as far as how we're going to balance today. But I'm hoping that we will replace, we have a replacement plan, restoration plan for what we're going to bring back and how we're going to bring it back.
Yeah.
I still feel very strongly, and I know back in December, I brought this to the staff's attention, that we need to look outside of our traditional thinking to find savings and ways to make money. I'm still not feeling that the staff has moved as quickly as they can on that behalf. I think, and certainly talk about doing something, holding it for 2 years and restoring it. Given the current economic crisis, again, across our city, we can find people to do our finances for a lot less. They don't have the closed in mind about education, so they're willing to look at things a little bit differently. I think we can find people to run our HR department for a little bit less, because that's what their specialties are. And so my point this morning earlier was that our specialty is educating children. Okay, when we became a large entity, we started bringing on other things that we could do, such as our finances, such as our HR, such as legal and communication. And my premise this morning is to say that we need to look at a time when all of these industries are suffering outside of the education field, but they're specialists in this field. Why not let them do this for a period of time? It would be cost effective for us for the district, and it would get some experts, and I say our staff is not experts, but it would give a different view to what we're doing, and I think that's what we need right now. Sometimes when you're doing the same thing and you do it on a daily basis and you have to start looking at it differently, it's hard, because that is what you do all the time. Every now and then you need to let somebody else look at your work and see if they can do it differently. So while I have my choices for today's marked up already, so you can do that whenever you're ready.
So Ms. Jackson, you're in favor of outsourcing? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm in favor of, for the time being, for the professional services that we need for the time being, that yes, we allow experts in those fields to come in and help us, because I'm not sure that I think that we can get some things done a little bit better. But anyway, I have my marks for today. If we want to do our tallies, and it's after 9 o'clock, so we can start moving on.
Yeah, I think we had one more comment from Mr. DeBeck.
Sure, thank you. I think Nellie and Phil ought to come forward, because the question kind of mixes. Okay, I'm looking at line 43, and we talk about, line 43 is reduction of non-classroom resource teachers, and it's worth $3.69 million, which is, even with the not knowing the amount of the 10 and 11-month cut question, seems to come up with the entire number we need. So I want to know is, what's the effect of that cut? Okay, it says non-classroom. Now, I remember that folks came to me that from the magnet programs and others saying, wait a minute, if you cut our program, these are the people we have to work with our languages or this and that. Well, those people are classroom teachers as far as I'm concerned, even if they're part-time classroom teachers. But this line item seems to imply that these people don't do instruction. They are like resource folks. Is that the case? Because I need to decide when I vote how I'm going to vote on, there's no question in my mind that if we got a priority that, I'll take cutting non-classroom folks before I'll cut OSIL.
Line 44 does include...
43.
Excuse me. Line 43 does include teachers that are teaching in the classroom.
Well, then why does it say non-classroom?
Because they're technically labeled as a resource teacher position, and part of the agreement of the board, as I understand it, was that
tell me how many are non-classroom teachers so that I can vote on non-classroom teachers instead of a line item that sounds like it's... And then somebody tells me, "Oh no, it's classroom teachers." If I got a point of view, if I say, "Okay, I care about instruction," all right. I also care about the support that given to instruction by certificated staff. Okay, what I don't want to pay for is people that call themselves teachers and walk around not teaching. Okay, and I want the number that means, and when I vote. And when I vote on that, I want to know exactly how many I'm talking about. Instead of having a line item, when I vote for it, I'm ending up hurting kids. See, if this is the stuff that drives me wild. If you say something and mean it, or if you say this line item includes 3 teachers in the classroom and 40 that aren't, say it. But don't give me a bunch of baloney that I can't judge on. And I'm sorry, I'm impolite. You know what? But I'm impolite because I care about kids.
I appreciate your passion. Nothing wrong with that at all. The challenge we have here, these are your project, what you call them, we call them project resource teachers. They can be assigned 1 year to fill in and teach in a classroom where a teacher is not there. They could be the next year, they could be providing resource support to the teachers who teach in that particular area.
Yeah, okay.
But they are indeed, there are a majority of those in line 44. In line 44.
Well, you helped me with my vote. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right.
May I clarify, though? I know that some of our music teachers are called resource teachers. Are you guaranteeing that these are not music teachers?
No. It is possible. These are magnet and IB people. It is possible there are language people in here.
So magnet teachers are in 44.
Wait. So these are music teachers?
45 and 46.
But I'm not talking about those line items. I mean, the question I asked was not on what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm saying line 43. I'm not, and I got answers for 44, 45, and a bunch of other stuff. I want to know what line 43 means. And what it does to instruction.
Yeah, line 44 has...
You said 44. I don't want to talk about 44.
I'm sorry, 43. Line
40, or isn't 44, 45, and 46 actually...
Look, are we talking about my item or your item?
John, I'm trying to explain that 44, 45, and 46 are number 43.
Well, if they are, then they'll break 43 down.
They are the component parts of line 43. 44, 45, and 46 make up the total of line 43. We broke line 43 down for you, so you could choose.
So then if I vote for 45 and 46, then I'm not going to hurt the classroom.
No.
Yeah, in line 44, in the magnet and IB 35 people, there are people who do provide instruction. That could be language, it could be music. Then they may be assigned to support teachers the next year who do. They are resource teachers. The inherent aspect of a resource teacher is they may be used in the classroom. They may be used to support the classroom.
Well, wait a minute.
They may be used from a curriculum
perspective. Let's just talk about the format of the document itself, please. Okay? You got line 43, and it says something, and then you're all telling me, and now I understand what you're talking about, but let's put it this way. Where else in this document do you have accumulation of items and have it duplicated on the sheet?
The very next.
All right, then why do you do that? Because I've got to choose what I'm going to vote for. And if I vote for 43, it's the same as voting for 45 and 46 and 44. Well, then why should that be? Because I don't get to vote on the items accurately.
How it would have been better if you'd have said 43A, 43B, 43.
Or just take 43 out.
Because that way we wouldn't as a board member, because we're looking at each line item and we're going to give you a line number. But if you'd have said 43, ABC, 47, AB3, ABC would have been very helpful.
But I also want to say I appreciate the breakout.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's very helpful. It's just sometimes you're doing too much and.
Okay, Dr. Evans, and then if we can get to actually voting.
Right. Just quickly, I know we talked about the $80,000 on the intern program, which added to it, but we also had mention of the science manager position, and if maybe Ms. Meyer could speak to this. What we had done, I believe, is cut down in our curriculum staff to a very basic core of 4 areas with just one person overseeing for the district, and I think that the science was one of those 4. And then the question would be, what is the impact of suspending that for a year or 2?
The science program manager, you're right, is a result of over $2 million in savings from the cuts from the curriculum department. They would be responsible for working with teachers as described by the Mira Mesa teachers. They also work with any adoptions. They would work with reaching out and advising on grants in the science areas. They would review materials. They would support new teachers in the science area. So the impact would be of having an even smaller group. I know we've worked with science community members in the science community to discuss the needs to promote science as well this last year, and they've had recommendations that we certainly not put science aside for the other core areas.
So basically these kind of 4 key positions is a very minimal skeletal reduction for the entire district.
Correct. It's an equivalent of a small district staffing for science.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Koba.
Thank you, President Barrera. To maybe augment what Nellie said, you may recall we had a curriculum department where not only did we have a content program manager at one point in time, we had 2, 3, 4 additional resource teachers supporting that program manager. And your intent, I think, in the reorg was we will no longer depend on those in central office resource teachers. We'd have a single point of contact in a content area, and then we would partner with leading teachers in their particular content areas to come together with that single point of contact at the central office to work programs like science, social studies, English language arts. So I appreciate what Chris said a little while ago, and I already heard from him where I think the team is. The Mira Mesa science teachers may be the perfect element to support science in the coming year with the content. But it is only one person, and my concern is I've been asked at various times, for example, by UCSD, well, who's your lead person on science? We want to talk about partnerships or about some kind of engagement, and it happens in other areas too. The problem we have is with no one or someone part-time, we hit or miss. So if you're thinking about, we've gone from a curriculum instruction framework of 12, 16 people now down to 4 with partnered teachers at the classroom campus site. That's as, I think, lean as you can get.
Okay, so board members, I think what we need to do now is take a few minutes, mark up our sheets, turn them in, and then see where we are in terms of getting to the final. Okay.
Yep. Mark up our sheets. Which one? All right. This is the same.
All right, board members, please come back up. We're not going to get it printed up because, yeah. Yeah.
If we have it, we're going to go.
We don't have it. Okay, so my understanding from the finance folks is that we didn't achieve 3 votes to cut anything additionally. So we're still at 3.5. So I think we're going to have to go down and identify wherever we've got 2 votes to begin with. So could we start there?
I need my paper back.
Yeah, somebody could walk us through wherever we've got 2 votes and identify that. Phil, do you want to just do that? Just identify for us where we've got...
Yes, we can mark it on here.
No, I'm just saying. You got your job.
All right.
Let's get it.
Yeah, we didn't turn it.
Yeah, I got it.
You didn't sign them either. You guys
signed. I'm not. Let's go get it. Okay, here we go.
Where do we got 2, Phil? Is that the first one? Is 50 the first one where we have 2 votes?
Third.
Okay, hold on.
Number 50, I'll add a third.
Number 50, we're adding a third.
Who is the third?
Kat. So who are the 3 votes on that?
Evans.
Jackson, Barrera, Nakamura.
No.
Wait. No.
Evans.
Jackson, Evans, and Nakamura.
Jackson, Barrera.
I didn't vote for that. 50.
Line 50.
We're on line 50.
Yeah. Start with line 50.
Yes.
Starting with line 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jackson, Barrera, Nakamura.
There you go.
Well, it was actually Evans.
It's
Evans.
And it wasn't Barrera.
And it wasn't Barrera.
Long box when I
They
got
marked the wrong
So
box.
it's not me. It's John. So,
Jackson's
it's got 3 votes. So
just switch it.
Okay.
So that's 3 votes. So that's 2. So that takes it down by $2 million.
No.
That takes it down by $0.93 million.
This is $290,000.
Wait, what number are we on? What number are we on?
50.
Oh, 50. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're on 6. That's why.
Okay.
It's different.
I'm on 50. What is 50 on your sheet?
Adult education. Make sure you're on Saturdays.
Oh, the .29. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, that was actually.
Okay, time
it was
out.
recorded correctly originally.
Fast forward.
50. I did vote for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nakamura voted. Okay.
All right. All right.
So line 50 is. Okay, well, let's finish 50.
Let's finish 50. So 50 has 3 votes now.
We have 3 votes. That's $290,000.
All right. Okay. So now where else do we have 2 votes?
I heard different.
That's FT.
All right.
Wait a
All right. Put your mic on.
I can talk here, and it doesn't matter how far it goes. Okay, I heard that there were 2 votes on number 50, and then Catherine changed her vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I hear there's 4 votes on it.
No.
3.
Well, then who didn't vote for it?
I didn't vote for it.
I didn't vote for it. Now who
There's-
else?
You and I.
Okay, so you are the one that they counted that they got you guys mixed up.
Yeah.
Well, they did.
It was a different lineup.
Okay.
On line 50, the votes are Jackson, Barrera, and Nakamura.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, now I understand.
On Saturday's line 50, on the reduction of the adult education work year. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so where else do we have 2 votes?
Hang on, they're still putting that one in.
Okay.
Takes a little time to do this on the fly. All right, now we move up to line 45. Line 45, we have Jackson and Barrera voting for a central office 2.03 reduction in FTE.
But I voted for it.
You did vote for that?
Oh, then I rescinded it because it turned out that it had other things in it that weren't true.
Okay.
Okay. This is mixed up stuff.
All right.
You know, if you have 3 things, why don't you have 3 boxes?
So it sounds like 45, we still don't have a 3rd vote.
Okay.
Yeah, I rescinded it.
Okay.
All right.
Where else do we have 2 votes?
Okay, we scroll up. 51, rescind raises to Finance Department.
We
have Jackson and DeBeck.
No, it's only 50,000.
Oh. Nope, not there.
Okay, then we have cap executive salaries to $175,000. That's line 53.
DeBeck and Jackson?
DeBeck and Jackson, yes.
Okay. Nope.
Okay, any others? No, we have eliminate area superintendents, line 55.
Those are...
With a concept, if I can speak to that one.
Yeah. DeBeck and Nakamura. Go ahead, Ms. Nakamura.
Yeah, the concept is that it'd be a 2-year austerity plan, and that we have the principals of the high schools act as the area superintendents. We keep the deputy superintendent in order to manage, the meetings, and for people to do this, maybe we throw a little bit of money towards the high school principals, but that they act as the cluster leaders, leading professional development or conferring, having group meetings, etc., and that they act as the instructional leaders during this 2-year austerity program so that we can get through this, but that we also have the program managers here within the department run by the deputy superintendent. I mean, everything else stays the same, that can provide services for professional support and everything else, but that we don't have the area superintendents, that the area superintendents meet with the superintendent, but the principals of the high schools act as the area superintendent. So it's...
Okay.
Mr. DeBeck?
Okay. I heard what Catherine made. I voted to do this, and I hear what Catherine's saying, but that's an assumption. My view would be that the cluster determines which of the principals would be the cluster leader, and that there might be some stipend or release time for them to run the cluster. But see, I personally believe that to say the high school principal is the only person capable of running a cluster is making a big mistake.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay? I would want the cluster to determine, let's be the administrators themselves, who their leader might be, and that person would get some kind of relief, and that wouldn't be maybe, a little extra time, and maybe an attaboy, I don't care what you call it, but you give them some significant recognition for emerging as a leader of the group. Now, every year, I would see that being something was re-upped. If the cluster didn't like the leadership, they'd find somebody else. And it may be 2-year austerity, it may be never, but my view is, I voted for that because I think there's a better way to run clusters. Okay?
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. That was my original idea, and I got no applause. Oh, thank you.
But I got it in writing.
We're not here for praise today. We're here
you can boo me because I can't vote for this because I don't see who's going to evaluate the principals. I mean, I can see a structure like this, being developed, but we have nothing in place right now to develop this, and we're talking about a system with no accountability. I can't support that.
We don't have it now. We don't have it now.
Well, the problem is we're talking about a person managing a school, whether it's the high school or another school, the full-time responsibility for that, and at the same time supervising and evaluating 20 or 25 other principals at the same time.
Okay.
How is it 20 or 25 other principals? It's about 8 people.
Okay. The argument would be we've had, how many years have I been on the board, and you've been on the board, and you've been on the board, and how many times have we seen an evaluation of a principal? The argument is that these people exist for that purpose, but I have yet to see one of them being evaluated. You and I may make decisions based on whatever impressions we have when we go into closed session to decide who gets what. But the truth is there's no documentation other than somebody said it.
But this is the first year.
That's an opinion. Let me finish.
Okay, finish, and then I want to speak.
Then you get to talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay? My point is that the idea that you can sit back and say that having supervision of principals gives you an evaluation and holds them accountable is plain baloney.
Well, John, I disagree. This is the first year that we finally got principal evaluations in place. And let's make it very clear to the public. When I came on this board 6 years ago and I asked to see the principal's evaluations, I was told no, because I'm a board member and we do not have supervision of the staff. And we've been pushing since then because I said, if we don't know what the principals are doing and we in the community, where do we get a chance to give input? And we are just now, took us 4 years to get to the point that we have a formal, systematic review of the principals, and that's occurring this year. Principals, wait a minute. No, we won't see it, and again, I think that's something the board has to discuss, but because I disagree with that philosophy that board members cannot see principals' evaluations and have very little input into the evaluations, but the piece that we put in place provided input from all the other stakeholders so that we would have something in place. A person cannot supervise themselves. If you want to see that in action, look at, no offense, our finance department and other departments. People don't cut themselves, okay? You have to have somebody that you put in place that you can hold accountable for these things. Now, the board's responsibility that we're just now getting to the point that we're doing is holding our superintendent, interim in this particular case, accountable. This was the first year also that the board finally did an evaluation on that particular person. And what I maintain across this district is that if the superintendent, interim or whatever, is not doing evaluation on their cabinet staff, then they're going to do what they want to do. And it rolls downhill. It starts with us as a board. And our responsibility is to hold everyone accountable. And when they're not accountable, then we hold that person that's sitting in the superintendent seat accountable for getting it done. But the reason that we're here this morning is to make these budget cuts, and I want to get on with that. So I think right now we should go back up to number 20, which is the first one on the list, and go down from 20 to the very bottom to find this $3 point whatever million we need to find.
Okay, number 20. How many votes for it? 1 vote.
scroll down.
Well, let me speak to that. I think we have one vote on anything. We should maybe speak to for just a second. I voted for this because while I do feel that the high school exit exam is extremely important, it also affects our API. I think, too, some of the responsibility, what happens was that in the time of FAT, people branched out and had other people doing some work. The responsibility for preparing our students fall within the purview of the day-to-day classroom teachers, and I think that this can go back to holding the classroom responsible for doing this type of work. This right here is for extra support classes for these students, and this is after hours and that type of thing. So I think giving that up but putting more focus back into the classroom would benefit our students at this particular area. That's why I voted for that particular one.
Can I ask Nellie, I mean, obviously, none of these we want to cut. All of them are, valuable. But there's also a reason why they're appearing on a sheet for potential cuts. So why did this appear on the sheet?
This became a Tier 3 fund. Originally, this money came with the legislation when we were required to have the Casey exam across California. And this was the supplemental money that the legislature agreed was needed to help support students toward that goal. It recently became Tier 3 money and flexible as a result.
So that's why it's on the list.
That's why. And we've had it for about the last 3 years.
And we didn't see any improvements in our Casey until we did. So this actually helps with our Casey exam.
It does help with the Casey exam, and as mentioned that...
We've seen improvements in the scores because of it.
Yeah. We have seen improvements in the scores, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It doesn't look like we're making movement there. Line 21... So I voted for this. I understand that that these are that this funding helps with activities that are really valuable in the GATE program. It might be that we need to ask parents to step up and help support these types of activities. There might be other ways that we can go about it, but again, in just sort of relation to everything else on here, I think this needs to be on our list. All right, didn't go anywhere.
Nice try.
All right. Okay, where else do we have one vote?
Huh?
We're scrolling down to where we have one vote.
Where's one vote? Balboa Park.
Okay, we have.
Right. I will address this one as far as the OSIL, which will make me very popular. Yeah. This is all in yellow, and part of the reason for this is we're looking at a $3.5 million cut at this point, and there is the possibility that we might find solutions to about $2.5 million within the next week. So I put these on a tentative list. Excuse me, Balboa Park and Old Town are each $0.9 million. What I had, and pending any changes in the next couple of weeks is the way I was looking at it. And then third one, on Camp Palomar, what I had put was, rather than a $2.9 million savings, was an $800,000 savings, which would come about by charging parents for transportation and some of the other costs of getting the kids up to Camp Palomar, but keeping the program intact.
Okay. I don't agree with putting these cuts on the list right now, but what I do want to back up what Dr. Evans just said, and I think this is very important, at least in the way that I'm thinking about this. Between AASD and OTBS, there's $2.5 million of savings out there if we can get to this. If we can get to these agreements. Between Thursday night and this morning, in the last 2 days, we got to agreements with OSS, and I want to thank the OSS bargaining unit who's here for getting us there. Yep. Please acknowledge OSS for getting us there. And we also got to agreement with all of the CSEA chapters on the health and welfare benefits. So there's $2.5 million that's sitting there right now in agreements that we have yet to achieve, but I believe that we're making progress towards with AASD and OTBS. And so, frankly, when I went about this right now, I didn't solve for $3.5 million. I solved for $1 million because I believe we're going to get there with that other $2.5. Now, when it comes time to vote for our budget, if we're not there, then I'm going to have to find another $2.5 million that I'll vote for. But as of this morning, I'm not willing to put things on a cut list because once they're on a cut list, it becomes complicated to take them off. And I do believe in the restoration plan, but it becomes complicated what goes first off of the cut list. It's not clear. And so I believe that we can get to where we need to get if we cut $1 million this morning, not 3.5.
Okay, are you talking about line 12? At least you alluded to it as being and it's a bargaining.
Yes, item. Line 12 and line 13.
Okay, well, since you did it, I don't like to go out in the open and bargain.
I'm not bargaining.
Well, but I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not going to bargain either.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to say is that it's come to my attention, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, and I guess Phil's the only one around that can do it, that the units have provided an amount of savings that's equal to the percentage that would be expected, except that the amount of savings comes out of, some of it comes out of unrestricted dollars. And for an employee walking around looking at their paycheck, if they take whatever the agreed amount cut is, they don't care about whether the dollars are restricted or unrestricted. So the idea is that in order to get the cuts that we feel we need, that we're asking them to take a larger cut than other units. I'm not going to get into the discussion of whether that's right or wrong, but I can understand the employee's point of view on this, all right? So then to count that as a savings prematurely is probably irrational, and so I don't even going to get to there, and I'm certainly not going to vote for it.
I don't think that's for
all right, but the point is, I don't think that kind of discussion is appropriate at all. You can't say that we're waiting for a settlement to solve our budget problem when the very same settlement could become, for example, a bringing forward of, from everyone, all the bargaining units, a voluntary pay cut to cover all the problems. I don't hear that either. And I certainly don't see any support from this board to doing that. But it's really interesting that you can accept one kind of concept that is a possible solution, but you can't even think of the other one, or accept the concept that it might happen. Okay? Now, if we're all in this together, then there's another piece, which we'll get to later, which is whether we're willing to take a share of the cuts. And I don't see any really willingness to do that either. Okay, so when you start saying, okay, guys, let's all sweat it and anticipate, maybe it's like unreasonable for us to expect a cut. Well, I don't know about that compared to employees. And so basically when we get to that part, I'll talk about it. But I honestly believe it is inappropriate to anticipate a settlement with the employee unit as a solution for a budget problem when it hasn't already been accomplished. And I'll leave it at that.
Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Oh, no, I'll speak to that when we get to that.
Okay.
Right. Just to reiterate, that is why I have these items in yellow, because it really was looking at in a very short-term restoration that if we don't achieve the savings that I was looking for, about $2.5 million within those three programs, which would keep the Camp Palomar program intact. So that's just for information. Okay, let's move ahead.
Well,
okay.
Keep it intact. You'd reduce it.
So where else do we have one vote?
CalSafe.
So that's Ms. Nakamura.
What number?
It's
36.
Yeah, this is 1.13, and it's a reduction in the CalSafe program. It's not an elimination of it. And, all of these others, I think that regarding expecting and parenting teens are probably helped more by having a health tech on campus. among the many other things. And, it's as draconian as this is, it's a reduction, it's not an elimination. And it could be one of the things that we bring back immediately.
Could we have a clarification on this being a reduction rather than an elimination from staff?
What gets left behind if
a bunch of kids?
What do we still have?
Is there anyone here to address this? But we have SANDAP as well, don't we?
Right.
Yes, regarding the impact, we can speak to the impact as regarding as to what kind of reduction this would be. It is a belief that it could impact some of the preschool programs for the students while they are in school, but it would not eliminate those programs.
So they're eliminated reduction of 7.5 certificated, 11.5 classified. Out of how many? I was under the impression that was the program.
Well, they're getting that.
Itself.
I get a question too.
There are multiple funding and grantees for the early childhood education programs, and this particular grant assists in caring for the students or for the children of students while they're in the program. And it's our understanding that it would not eliminate that care at Garfield and Twain. We would still have that care, but this is an additional support for the students through a grant.
So is the grant going? Is the grant going away? Number one, and then I have a concern, and again, we have lots of items on this particular list that are not palatable, but these are the children that probably struggle most. They have, made maybe a mistake in judgment, and we're trying to support them to finish their education, and so when you say that you are eliminating support for them, I heard a comment, well, just have to have techs do it. I know that have techs and can't, but help techs maybe can't do this particular counseling that needs to be done. So what is left?
And if I could clarify, excuse me, I was incorrect. This was a grant that turned into a program that remained.
Okay, very good.
But it was originally a grant, and then we decided to fund it out of our own money once that grant went away, correct?
That is my understanding.
Okay, so the grant went away a couple of years ago?
I'm not aware of when it became flexible, is what I'm hearing.
Okay, so it became, Tier 3
Once
became
again.
flexible. Okay.
Dr. Fulcher, you want to say something? You get up.
Well, I was just going to talk about the impact. Some of the SANDAP students, of course, utilize this program a great deal. So it benefits our pregnant and parenting teens. It provides child care support, which allows for them to learn more about their pregnancy, some of the resources that could support them during that time. It could also result in a potential loss of ADA, because many of these students, if they don't have a place for their students, their children, to stay and receive services, they may not attend school.
Maybe we should have called this child care, support instead of, provides, expecting and parenting teens. I really didn't understand that. So
that's just the impact. I can't speak to the budgetary or fiscal constraints.
This is a case, in my opinion, of I'll call it accounting versus people. And I happen to have worked in a school where this was going on, and I think it's extremely valuable. But, the impact that's shown here is only employees. There's not a word about the number of kids that are involved.
Well, it now has no votes, so we can go on to the next item. So I withdraw my vote.
Mr. DeBeck can complete his statement.
Well, reduction in 7 certificated people, that's not child care, is it? Maybe the program organization might be around paraprofessionals providing child care rather than certificated, and there's a difference in price, I think, considerable one. But if you categorize it as child care and then you show me that you got 7 certificated people, I say you're not telling me the truth, or there's something really wrong about it, or the management of the program is sort of skewed. So that, that's, for me, that's really what all this is about. You go to an accounting department, they say, okay, we'll just do away with CalSafe, because that's $1.3 or $1.1 million. But they don't look at the number of kids that it serves. And we've got programs where we're paying $8,000, $9,000 per kid that we're not even talking about. And this is dimes for kids.
Okay.
I won't support it, certainly.
All right. Any other, where are we in terms of having?
Line 45, the central office 2.03 has 2 votes, Barrera and Jackson.
40 what?
I'll speak to this one. And certainly, while I know how important our central office, magnet office is, as we look at our new organization with the Deputy Superintendent of Academics, I think they can cover this particular these responsibilities in the interim time until we're able to refund this particular office, and that's why I was willing to forego it for now, not for a long period of time. Even this year, as we've submitted our grant, we did not ask for any new magnet programs, just to sustain magnet programs. So I think that office can actually do the work to maintain the ones that we have until we're able to refund this in its entirety. So that's why I selected it.
This is another case where you clatters, put things together and don't give us any choice. Maybe we could think about having all the magnet support at the magnets, that's where the action goes, and that would be a site decision. And maybe we could decide to do differently around IB too. But what you do is you put both IB and magnet together, and maybe, just maybe, the only support IB schools get is the central support. And so then you get into this, okay, John, vote for this, because it saves an accounting amount of what, 3.18 million?
No, 45.
45, okay,
just magnet.
Yeah, 180,000, okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't know which of that I'd vote for, or if I'd vote for it at all, so I didn't. And I'm not. You want me to vote for something, tell me what I'm voting for.
Okay, keep going.
Line 46 has 1 vote, a reduction that would impact school and library improvement block grant, 3.65 FTEs, 330,000.
You want to make an argument for that?
Who voted for that?
Mr. DeBeck.
DeBeck.
Where was it? What?
46.
46? School library improvement block grant. Well, let me just go and rescind it.
Okay.
Because I didn't understand it to be.
Okay.
This is another case of collective stuff.
Okay. So let's keep going.
Number 49.
All right, 49, the CBET.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I've joined Dr. Evans on this before, so add my vote in there. So now we have 2.
Okay, I'd like to speak to this. And first of all, I think that this is a very valuable program. I have worked myself, I think Ms. Nakamura has also, as an ESL teacher with adults. I think what's good about this is just combining the ESL program with the school programs that the adults are learning English and volunteering in the schools. However, the ESL programs are offered and funded throughout the city through the community college district. So those programs are available to them. And when we're looking at our central mission, our core mission, which is children, and we went through before the whole issue of adult education. We're not touching the adult high school diploma completion programs and so forth. This is a separate issue of ESL classes that are offered through the community colleges, and this is a potential savings of nearly $1 million. And I think that when it is offered in the community by the community college, that's the reason for the San Diego Unified to pull back on it.
Okay, let me speak to this on the other side.
I'd ask my vote.
You add your vote?
On the other side,
okay.
Before you add your vote, Mr. DeBeck. Okay. Let me speak to this.
She just rescinded Mr. DeBeck's vote.
I did not.
Next item.
But what I wanted to say is that San Diego is one of the federal relocations for immigrants or migrants from across the world. That's why we have such a large population. When those families are transported to San Diego, the federal government also provides funding not only for their academics, but to help their parents come to our schools, learn how to enroll their students. And this is very valuable because while the teachers and the staff struggle to work with students that sometimes may have never even been in a formal educational setting, the parents are there and they do not understand. Now, what happens with this particular program, and I think we should go out, if you haven't seen it, is you go out to the elementary schools and middle schools, with the elementary schools. These classes are actually held on the campuses with the parents. They're teaching the parents how to talk with their students about school and helping them to understand as well. So the question that I would ask the staff is how much of this particular funding that we're cutting comes to us for this particular reason. One of the things that we did not address in all these cuts is the funding that is allocated for a particular program that we're moving someplace else. So I know that we receive impact aid, and part of impact aid is to support these families. And as I was pushing for more impact aid, I was concerned because the community colleges were siphoning it off for the adults, but at least they were coming back onto our campuses to help our parents. So the question that I want to ask the staff is how much impact aid do we receive for these particular families? Because I don't think we should. I didn't vote for it anyway, but I don't think we should take money that is meant to educate these parents and shift it someplace else.
Okay. Answer to that? Does anybody on the staff have an answer to how this money comes in?
Impact aid. That's
tier 3, obviously.
Not the same impact aid.
That's revenue.
We have different categories of impact aid, and I know talking with Councilwoman Susan Davis and her office, I pushed years for impact aid for the military families as well as our displaced families. So I know we do have money coming for these particular reasons.
Is this related to military impact aid?
No, it's another type of funding that we get. San Diego is one of the relocation hubs for migrants across the nation. We did Burmese last year, and whenever there's a national, international crisis and they're relocating families, we just seem to be a nice place to relocate them to. So for that reason, the federal government, does supplement certain things, and this is one of them.
Beats Arizona.
President Barrera, let me clarify. This is not economic impact aid.
Yeah.
All of these dollar values should be unrestricted, non-grant funds, whether they be normal, mainstream, general, or tier 3 converted.
Sure. Okay.
And it sounds like there's 3 votes for this, but I just again. I do believe that this impacts kids, and I agree with what Ms. Jackson is saying. This is not just simply ESL for adults. Mm-hmm. This is about parents learning how to connect with their students, and I think that's critical. I also it's one of the things that we talk a lot about as a board. This is a program that we don't have people here this morning who are advocating for, and it does bother me that we get to a point. I absolutely appreciate everybody who comes out here on a Saturday morning and advocates for different programs. And again, I want to thank the folks from the teacher intern program for coming out and changing our mind this morning. But we've got a whole group of important programs for a lot of our families that we don't have people who have the ability to come out on a Saturday morning and advocate for. And when they're not here, then we make choices that I think hurt some families over others. And I think that's what would be happening here if we make a decision to cut this program. And I understand that we need to make these cuts.
I'd like to talk to that.
Yeah.
There's also, I understand that I support the fact that a non-English speaking parent with their kid in an elementary school will want to have a part in the instruction of their kids and want to learn along with their kids. But I could also invent, which is not my job, a way to include parents in classes so that kids and parents got equal kind of access to the professional instruction we provide for children. And to call it an adult education, or even to have a parent invited to sit with their kid in a classroom to participate in the instruction or watch their kid learn and also learn with their child, it seems to me pretty effective. And I don't see why it has to be a separate funded thing. Because this is focusing on adult education, which is adults, that's why I changed my vote. But I honestly believe that you could accomplish the task if you had creative minds doing it.
Dr. Evans,
Yeah, to address what Mr. Barrera was saying, which is very important, I think a lot of that can be accomplished through the community college funding. A lot of the community college courses are taught at San Diego Unified facilities, and many times during the day, during school hours of San Diego Unified schools. And I also, so what I would, if we approve this, what I would like to do is to direct the staff to enter into discussions with the community college to make sure that these programs are continued at the school, because the community college are always looking for locations, and the best location is where the kids are. And there is no reason that they cannot also include elements of tying it in with the elementary school program. There's nothing that would bar them from coordinating and cooperating with those teachers. So I think there's a lot we can do, but if we don't just cut this and drop it, but we actually get into very detailed discussions with the community college district about it.
Okay, so it sounds like there's 3 votes for this item. It's the DeBeck is. Okay, let's move on. So where are we now? What's our
2.32 million?
2.32 left.
This is the running total, right? Yeah. In column I, 2.32.
And again, I know Mr. DeBeck disagrees with the point that I'm making here, but I'm at this point done, because I believe that we will get to settlements with OTBS and AASD that would get us to the remaining amount. But the board's not done.
No, I'm there with you, Mr. Barrera. I think there is too, and I think I've been told that we still have even if we offer the $50 incentive for retirements, that we actually have to cut positions in order to make that work. But no, I'm there with you, and I think that we really need help, and we need to give them the time and the opportunity to give us that help. So I'm there with you. These are, even the cuts that we did make are some that, Mr. Kova, you are a wonderful list maker. So I'm expecting a restoration list of not only these, but other cuts that we've made to supplies and all sorts of other stuff that I'd like to see come back. So.
I would say I wouldn't mind stopping here too if this is the last. I mean, if we're down to almost the end, I think we should at least, just very quickly identify the last few items so people know where we are. But again, Mr. Koba and staff, I am still looking for creative solutions. We can generate revenue, okay, and as well as saving. I am still concerned that we have done, as far as a board member, very little on our $20 million that we have allocated for our utilities this year, and certainly I'm very concerned that we're not pushing harder on our SDG&E. We one of their largest customers this year to give us an increase of 4%. My mind can't comprehend it. So I don't know if we were offered an 8 and we set it on 4, but certainly I think in this economic time they should be more willing to work with us, as well as I think that we should also be looking at school sites, holding them accountable for trimming their utility bills as well. And again, I know I asked that they be given those bills, and I think that they kind of did something as far as sending it to them in emails. But I think that every principal, during their principal meeting once a month, should be reminded of what the utility bills is, and it should be posted somewhere on their school so they can look at it, so that they can understand the importance of trimming that utility bill. But I am very concerned, again, that we are not looking at other uses for our properties, renting it out, and looking at those things in a very intensive way that we can generate revenue so that we can save our programs and restore our programs that we have cut here today.
Mr. Cobb? I think we ought to keep going down the list.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Let me just comment on a couple items for this.
Mm-hmm.
One is, if you stop at the 2.32, we do need to put something in there. We've already checked with the county. They will not accept anything short of a TA when the time comes to close out all the collective bargaining. We've had that conversation with them for the last week. So I just want you to be aware of that.
By the time and just to clarify, by the time we adopt our final budget, we can't have $2.3 million sitting out there. We have to balance.
That's exactly the point, sir.
And that's June 29th.
Right.
But staff has to develop the budget.
Right.
And that's the mechanics of that.
We have to insert something in there, so we'll have to just be aware of that.
The first reading of our budget has to be a balanced budget, and that's on the 22nd.
June 22nd.
So we have to have, by the 22nd, the dollars included in that, in the appropriate line items, so that we can actually present a budget in the right format to you.
Yep. Okay.
Ms. Jackson's been very cognizant of the revenue piece of this, and I think we have been, and I wanted to just assure her, and as well as the rest of you, we are putting together a real estate person, member of the guidance there, a single individual who does look for revenue opportunities. We're currently in negotiation with two firms about solar panels to drive the cost down. We have been talking to SDG&E. One thing to note, while we've increased the amount of space that we heat and cool just simply by building, we have also been inserting energy-efficient materials, and so we have been able to mitigate most of the SDG&E price hikes of the last couple of years, but they're more aggressive than we are at raising those. So the focus on revenues will be there and continues in the coming school year. It's just a matter of time to get there, but we are committed.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Years ago, we actually, one of the budget cuts that we did consider, and I remember it was estimated to be worth an awful lot of money, but it caused such fervor and people being upset in the ranks, and I don't know how we would get after this per se, but almost every teacher, or a lot of teachers I should say, have these little mini refrigerators in their classrooms. If you want to get after utilities, those mini refrigerators are an unbelievable source of, it's expensive. So, Ms. Jackson, I'm just letting you know that is one thing that can be considered. It's a lot more than keeping the lights on, because it runs all night long and it runs all weekend, and I don't think that's ever been brought back to us. If I remember last time, it was a considerable amount of money if you eliminate them.
Well, you can find a few in the Ed Center, too.
And I agree. I don't have a problem with that.
Why don't we, Mr. DeBeck wants to keep going down the list. So, Dr. Evans, yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment along what we were discussing and the idea that the staff would, in the meantime, keep looking at creative solutions, and the whole issue of revenue. And I think we also have to look at that in terms of the OSAL program, in terms of protecting it and how to bring in revenue. We've been dealing, with state laws in terms of what is allowed, in terms of charging parents, and what's not allowed, and we have to be very careful about that. Sixth grade camp is one thing that's very explicitly allowed under state law in terms of charging parents. Neighboring districts charge their parents pretty high fees for their kids to go there, and I'm not suggesting we go up to that, and also being very clear that persons who are not able to afford it would also not have to pay. But I just think I appreciate the fact that it's broken down in terms of Balboa Park, Old Town, and 6th grade camp. And I think that's another piece that could be broken down in terms of transportation costs and potentially having parents cover the transportation costs, particularly for the 6th grade camp, is one way to keep it going, and it's revenue rather than a cut.
I'd like to, Dr. Evans, I really feel a need to offer a rebuttal on that. And, in this era where I've had 5 parents call me and ask me for a reference, to be used on their resume because they are out of work for the first time in their lives as adults who have all kinds of qualifications for them. We have a whole world of hurt out there right now that we don't even know about. And these children are, this is not a time when parents are going to be able to step up. Furthermore, unlike Poway, we're a district with approaching, 60% free and reduced lunch, I believe, right now. It's just not, that's not sustainable. The program would be eliminated. And as a California native who attended 6th grade camp, we have very few traditions, and this was one of the first, or the first camp program available. We're approaching, what did they say, 50, 60 years on this? We can't even, I just can't. I know it's hard for some people to understand, but for some children, this is going to be the only camp experience that they have in their lifetimes, particularly in this economic climate. And okay.
I would just like to reiterate that, and I'll mention too that I myself have been a counselor at 6th grade camp. I've also been an ESL teacher, so I'm very aware of this. I'm not even proposing eliminating the programs. I'm talking about possible revenue, and I'm not talking about the 60% of the families that cannot afford it. I'm talking about the other 40% who can.
And I'm saying in that 40%, there's a whole lot of people that can't afford it anymore either. I mean, they just wouldn't do it.
So we're on 51? We're on 51, I think.
We're on 51. All right, item 51. Who wants to 50? We voted for 50.
Just a point of clarification, if I can, too. You haven't, I don't think, unless I missed it, you made a decision on the memberships, the Council of Great City Schools, and that just for information.
You made a decision about it?
Where was that?
It's on.
I thought we did both C.
It's 18. It's line 18.
Line 18.
And I'm not advocating for it. I'm just pointing it out. That
line 18 was added back, so if we're going to take it off, we'll need 3 votes.
I'm not.
I voted to take the credit anyway. So.
Okay, so there's one vote from Sheila.
My vote was not rescinded.
Okay. So
to cut.
All right.
To cut it.
Yeah. Okay, just to get this double negative.
Okay.
All right. So now we're
that
back
brings in money
to
for us. I can't.
51. Yeah. Line 51.
All right.
Voted for it in the beginning.
Me.
51.
Line 51.
Now we've been through all of them once, and this will be our beginning.
There's 2 on this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing, may?
Yes, please.
Well, the reason I voted for it was because, first of all, it's inaccurate. It says rescind raises the finance department, but that's not true. It's the financial department administration. All right. So, who writes the exhibits? I don't know. Anyway, so there's $500,000. Now, it's not
no,
that
it's not $500,000. It's
50,000.
50,000.
49,000.
All right. Well, it's almost equal to half of our pay. That's fair. At any rate, I think that while I want to do better in finance, I'm not sure that the organization's that straight, and or that all the stuff that I'm getting is. There are people talented there. There's no question about it, but we've laid off people that are probably more qualified than my opponent. But at any rate. As far as I'm concerned, I can't see paying raises when we've laid off classified employees in the same area, and so it just doesn't make sense. You raise the pay of an administrative group at the same time you've gotten rid of the people that do the work. Maybe. Well, I'm not going to go any further. That's far enough. I'm sticking with my vote, and I guess Sheila voted for it too. So we need one more. If nobody wants to vote for it, let's move on.
One more.
Okay. Moving on.
Looks like it.
Yeah. It's not on the screen. Oh, is it there? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
I was looking at the bottom.
All right, line.
It's on the screen.
Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Let me just speak to it again. And thank you, DeBeck, for supporting me, for supporting this item. I think that...
Are you still on 51?
Yes.
50. You're 51.
51.
I think the message, though, is sometimes that we send is what we call mixed signals. And we as leaders have to be careful of the mixed signals that we send. We should not value one group of people over another. Now, I know that I have been spoken with about this particular item, and I understand the value of these people, and the amount of money is supposed to be about the position and not the person. But again, what I do know, and talking with people outside of our organization, is that we can meet the needs of this district without having to give the people this raise. And certainly when you do that and people are watching these broadcasts and saying, who are giving you those numbers? And when you say the people that are giving us the numbers, we're giving them a raise, they're baffled. They're saying, if we're listening to what you're receiving, and then if you're not receiving things, correctly, or there's lots of questions and lots of misunderstandings, but the people that are giving you the information you're giving raises to, it does not make us superior that we understand what we're doing. And so that's why I brought this particular item up. Thank you.
Yeah, and I really feel a need to speak to this. Our finance department has been worn pretty thin, and the finance department was in fact reorganized as a cost-neutral change. The numbers were brought to us not by the finance department, but by an evaluation from human resources of what the jobs entailed according to the book, and what people should be paid according to the book, and what their skills and what their level of ability is. And it was in recognition of all of that. And we have a demoralized finance department that has been struggling without getting compensation at the level they deserve for a very long time. Through no fault of their own. And, if we're going to be facing a financial, collapse, this is an area, it's cost neutral. It didn't add anything to the budget, but Ms. Jackson put this on in an effort to find more money to dig out of the budget, and I can understand her position on that. But it's misguided and it's misplaced. So it doesn't have my support.
There's 132 other positions identified by HR that needs to be readjusted. That was spoken here by the people in those positions. We put all of that on hold. We recognize that our employees work diligently, and when you start looking at compatible salaries across outside, that they may deserve to receive more. But to take one group of people and elevate their needs above all those that have already gone through the process and HR has identified their job description as requiring a pay increase, and we say we're going to skip over all of these that are entitled to a pay increase per their job, but this group, we're going to go ahead and give them theirs, sends the wrong signal. And that is my point. It's not saying that group is not deserving, because HR has done a fine job of going back, doing their analysis of the positions and saying there are lots of positions in our district that we really need to pay more to. And we want to thank everybody for doing that. But we have not paid the other people. And we're saying we're going to freeze everyone else except for one group of people. That is not appropriate.
And I think I disagree with this taking this action, but the point that Ms. Jackson is making is absolutely correct. We have not, as a board, made a policy decision to not reclassify people in order to save money. We haven't done it. We just aren't reclassifying people, and we need to do that. And there's a level of it's not right to have people doing a job for which they're not adequately compensated, for which they're not appropriately compensated. And so we need to follow through, and we need to do these reclassifications. And the impact might be, that we have a further hit on our budget by doing it. But right now, people are doing the job for less pay than they are supposed to be receiving, and that's not right. And we need to go and do this reclassification.
Good to go jobs.
All right. So we'll move on to 52. Do you want to make an argument, Ms. Jackson?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Who wants to make an argument for any of the further 53 through 57?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, 53 is mine.
Yep.
52 and 53 was mine, and certainly during this time for our top people to have a short reduction in salaries would not hurt the district, at all. I think that sometimes you do lead by example. I know the next item, 54, says for us to cut our salary in half. Well, our salary is mine is $1,300 a month. So it's not. I think as elected officials, we are the poorest paid elected officials that there are in the entire city, and we put more hours in than anyone else. But for our that's my opinion, John. But for 53, my item there was that even on the outside of the school district and many of the industries where they're having to trim back their staff for various reasons, to ask our staff that they could just hold up for a year or so, I felt was appropriate. But that's why I put that item there.
So you just got through talking about 52 or 3?
53.
Well, I want to talk on 53.
Okay.
When you look at the people, then when you look at 351 people that are going to lose their job, and when you say that you're willing to talk about the fact that a lot of people are underpaid, there's a difference. When you look at capping executive salaries at $175,000 a year and then laying off people that make $20,000 to $30,000 a year. So, while you may want to support reclassification, you haven't. All you've done is supported reclassification or re-awarding in the finance department. So that isn't fair, and I have to say it. So in the case of executive salaries, I got to say that I don't mind saying that that cut or that cap may make a few people unhappy. But I don't think in comparison to the 351 people that we're planning to lay off, that's a good idea. Now we're down to, I guess, the one that's the least popular, which is the one I proposed.
Doctor, I just wanted to comment on that when you said 350 laps, that was if we approved everything that was on all these sheets, and very few of these have been approved, so I don't want to make that comparison.
That's quibbling. I don't care. Let's make it 150 people. I don't care.
It's not quibbling.
It's not
all right.
It's not 150 people either.
We haven't cut anybody.
It's on the list, so that's the way I went from it. So but basically the truth is there are people getting raises and other people getting laid off, and the people that are getting laid off don't make any money, and I think they need jobs. Okay. So, but now I'll go to 54 unless somebody else has got something else to say.
Yeah.
You know what? It's true. You can't live on a school board salary, but if you're sitting around talking about giving people a whole lot of pay cuts and you're saying, oh, it's okay, we get to make the choices about your lives and that you guys are, and we work harder than anybody in the world, you know what? The community college boards make half what we make. And they handle a budget pretty close to ours and a staff of pretty close to the same amount. The only reason we make what we make is because it's statutorily allowed, but if we have to live on it, we shouldn't be here anyway. This is a community service job where you're supposed to provide, from your own support for public education. That's what it's been traditionally for years. It isn't a lifetime occupation, although I seem to...
All right, John, it's not lifetime.
I'll make it at that, but I'm certainly not living on it, because if you look at my tax return, if you want to, you'll find it's not very much of my livelihood. But the point is, I can't sit around saying I'm going to lay people off, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, without taking some hits myself. And if you guys want to take a hit, I don't mind, but 50% is only, $50,000, okay? Well, we're asking people to lose their jobs. Yeah. And that might save one, and I'm glad to do it, okay? If you're not, so be it. That's only a single vote anyway, just mine.
Well, I think it should be pointed out really clearly. The pay on the school board is $348 per week. Okay, and that's before taxes are taken out. It is classified as a part-time job. I do believe that most board members do come, close or exceed it being a full-time job. So I think that talking about making a big cut in the board salary is a way to kind of make a big point. It doesn't save the district money. Because it is such a small amount of money. So I think we need to just keep this in mind when we're discussing this issue. And I think we also need to be very clear that the board must take out of that $348 a week whatever cut that is being imposed on other employees. If we have furlough days and so forth, we also have to take that reduction that the employee groups are taking at the same time as everybody else.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Yeah, I mean, wait a minute. We're not taking any cuts.
We are. Absolutely. We had a discussion the other day. We are working with the bargaining units in terms of the 5 furlough days, which is a 2.7% across the board throughout the district. We're extending that, and have already included in the budget, to all of the administrative staff, and the board cannot be exempted from that.
Well, that's not true. There's been no action anywhere to reduce the board's salary.
I make a motion.
Say that period.
I make a motion that the board receives a pay cut proportionally to what everybody else in the staff
not on
receives.
The agenda, and you can't make a motion. You're the president.
I will make the motion, and she seconds it. And furthermore, this has been the understanding all along on the board, that the board would take what everybody else is taking. It's not a new idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When does it take effect?
All in favor of the board taking a proportional cut that the
takes effect with the new fiscal year, like everybody else.
Point of order.
Please vote. I don't accept your point of order.
Point of order takes precedent.
Yeah, well,
John, if you're in favor of this, if it doesn't count, but go ahead and vote for it.
It's 4-0.
Yeah, so apparently DeBeck didn't vote for that salary cut.
I did vote.
You need to clear it.
All right, clear it, and we'll vote again.
Yeah, okay, clear it. And
please vote again.
We're taking a cut, huh?
Yeah, we are.
Starting tomorrow?
Starting July 1st.
July 1st, like every employee in the district.
Which has been understood from day one.
We've always
How
had that
brave
clear.
of us all.
Go ahead. Anybody want to make an argument for 55, 56,
55.
or 50?
I'd like to speak to 55 again if I can. I know I keep bringing this up. I think there's a real concern about the 9 very qualified people that we've identified to fill these positions, that we went through a great deal of trouble and review the 9 individuals. And, Ms. Hueso, I need you again, please. Do we have a handle on how many principals have submitted their resignations? We usually have a number of those throughout the year.
Just by retirement.
I don't have the exact number with me. However, in terms of principals, I am aware of at least 2. Most of the other management positions that we receive resignations for are people that are leaving our district to take jobs elsewhere, but not necessarily from the principal ranks.
Okay, I've heard of a couple of others as well, but I think that we're going to have principal retirements, and we could insert these 9 individuals into the schools where we have a principal retirement, maybe move some principals around if we have to, which happens every year, but move some principals around to make it work within each cluster, and then have have them working as a principal while they're, acting in these capacities as well. But I still think that the best idea is to have it as so that they can act as area superintendents. I still think we should have this emphasis. Every cluster should have its own person, but I think we can save some money that way. And I would eliminate them altogether just for 2 years period. But if we can't get that, at least do it this way.
Well, we've already talked about it, but the point is, I think it's a good way to get emerging leadership anyway.
Right.
And people will step forward because they want to show that they have this capability. Instead of having us impose people on top of areas, we basically are saying to the area, collect your wits, find the people that are your leaders, and start to work together to create what our communities are trying to do themselves. If you stop to think about it, the reason why we have such active clusters is they're being encouraged to start to work collaboratively together. It wouldn't be a bad idea if the schools started doing the same thing. So here we got a chance to save $1.5 million, plus reinforce the concept that we're not top down. That's a good point, maybe. And I think that's a good idea on its face.
Well, here's another novel idea. How about we don't have deputy superintendents?
No,
no, because I think that we need to preserve things that are close to the school sites. And if we're going to cut administration and have them doing more, if we have on the books, but we have not filled a deputy superintendent of academics, a deputy superintendent of business, and their staff, and that may come to almost $1 million for those departments. So, and we're about $1 million short, so there could be your $1 million right there.
Okay,
and it's not close to the schools at all.
They're not on the budget anyway; they're frozen.
So let's one at a time. Is there a third vote for the plan to eliminate the area superintendent? No. Mr. Kova, did you? Okay, all right. Ms. Jackson, did you want to put on the list a proposal to eliminate the deputy superintendents?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Because if we have to have another $1 million, it's about right. It's about $1 million.
It's not in the budget savings. We don't save them.
The deputy business is not unrestricted. That's restricted funds. That wouldn't help. The academic.
How did the business person get to be restricted?
I'm sorry?
How did the deputy superintendent of business get to be restricted?
The funding for the deputy superintendent business was taken out of the restricted funds of the departments that person will manage, which makes sense because it coordinates with the different departments.
Nice try, Phil. I'm not buying that. I am not buying it. You're going to have a deputy superintendent of academic and one of business, and the one that's academic is unrestricted and can be taken away, and the one of business cannot. That makes no sense
can certainly
to me at all. Thank you.
Yeah. I think you have to be very careful about what we're talking about here. This is a very complex organization, 15,000 people, 200 properties, and it goes on and on and on. And we have streamlined all of the management structure to the best we can. It only makes up 2% of this whole organization. And if you don't carry on with a couple of deputies, then you have eliminated anyone between the superintendent, whoever sits in that chair, and the direct departments. And there's just no way it can be done physically or mentally to focus. I mean, organizations have critical elements at every level. And I would also say that you can't afford not to have area superintendents or a layer. I don't think a principal can lead a cluster organization the way you want to do it in a very aggressive, time-sensitive way and get everyone together. At every level in our organization today, we have streamlined to a point where you just don't have anybody that can do that kind of work. I mean, we interface up the chain to CDE, the California Department of Education, to the Department of Education, across the communities, and the principals, the VPs, the teachers all have a full-time job. They're fully backed by all of their classified personnel. And there will be nobody to interface either up or down or across agencies if you don't have critical positions somewhere inserted. And these area soups that you're talking about are doing more than just evaluating principals, although that is a major gain we've made. They're going to organize in the community. They're going to energize the clusters. They're going to bring a K-12 focus for the first time in many years. It'll be streamlined to bring connections. And then the two deputies, one running the business and one running the academics, are going to try and bring together that support structure that delivers customer service. So before we consider adjusting the model in any way that you approved, ask yourselves who's going to step up when every other layer has already a full plate and then some.
I have one more question. That's about the MAC. You took that back to look at it. How is that coming? That a potential savings?
Well,
line item 56.
Yes. Dr. Fulcher and I are meeting with Ms. Hueso and Nellie, Brenda Campbell on Tuesday. We're trying to get that one focused on. But again, that one has already had some significant amount of reductions to it.
Okay.
This is the accountability office that we want to be able to manage, be the honest broker. And it has had a number, if you take a look at either federal program or RED that have come together, they've both been through various cuts. They're going to look at some savings. And these are the people that we expect to do the monitoring, the reports to the state and the federal government. And they are fairly small. We'll see if we can't get them down a little lower, but that's another role. We have to answer to somebody outside the district. So we're looking at that very carefully. And on Tuesday, I'll have some more information.
Okay, because that'll be, I know we have 1.5 there, but it could, if it could just be 1, then I think we're right at that 3.4 we needed this morning? Mr. Stover?
Well, right now we're at 2.
Yes, right now we're at 2.32.
2.2. Yeah. Okay.
I would support on that one a goal of cutting some of the money there. I know that it's been very consolidated, and I'm not telling exactly how to do it,
right.
But when we were discussing it the other day, I was really looking at, is there a possibility, even not making it cost neutral, but even finding up to 10%, which would be about $500,000. So, I mean, there's a potential, I would believe, just making a wild guess, of up to $500,000 savings in that area that we could add in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No further argument. We are done with item A3. Let's move on to item A04. Okay, we have several speakers on item A04. This is the adoption of resolutions in the elimination of classified vacant positions. Joni Collins, Joe Morales, Denise Rasmussen, Lance Wren, Leticia Munguia, and Gabriel Grande. Joni.
Good morning, Superintendent Koba and President Barrera and board members. Thanks everybody for being here on a Saturday morning and for all your details and going through each item. I know it's difficult, and I really commend you because I don't remember ever in my time at San Diego Unified that everybody's poured so much over this, and I thank everybody. And thank you very much. With that said, I also want to say thank you to Mr. Barrera for allowing some time to pass before you made any actions on the vacancy positions. But sadly to say, there's 2 on here that I'm still concerned about. The mail clerk position, it's an OTBS position. I think I wrote down that we were $3.4 million plus the $80,000. Mail clerk position is a salary grade of 20, starting at $11 an hour. We have 3 in the district, and yet this position is very important, that it could actually paralyze for the whole entire district, because we have to put postage, we have mailings that have to get out, time-sensitive information, including report cards, testings. Also, unfortunately, even the layoff letters that are time-sensitive are a part of that job duty. I would really... and also the other position is the relief truck driver position. OSS position that came about in 2004, and I have brought the contract at that time when it was lots of negotiations. I think it took us a couple years to come up with this position because it was a good idea of a substitute position that could do three things. It's the relief truck driver can hop in a truck to do moves and also drive the time-sensitive mail to all the sites, materials that are needed, and also check-in material, work as a stock clerk. It's a very important position. Unfortunately, Joe Morales, who was supposed to speak after me, is on the recall list. He had to go. He's not even working for San Diego Unified, hoping that he could. That position would somehow stay open. I don't know what happened with Mr. DeBeck's idea of maybe just freezing some of these, and I don't know anything about budgets in that respect, but I'm here mainly because I don't want these to be eliminated. These are vacancies, and maybe we have to freeze them right now, but these are mission critical, very important positions that I don't really think is going to affect the budget. And I really ask that we could really reconsider this. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Koba, President Barrera, and board members. I think that the two folks you probably will just take off the list is Mr. Morales. I think Joni just mentioned he's already left, and Mr. Lansman actually had to step aside for a business meeting as well, representing CSEA. My name is Leticia Munguia, CSEA Labor Relations Representative, and I'm also here to speak about the OSS vacancies that are before you. I've said this on April 27th when I asked you to pull the agenda item. There's some critical positions on the list that you may not remember, but I'm going to remind you. In June 30th of last year, you offered the SERP, and that left us 103 vacancies. Right thereafter, you imposed a hiring freeze. So we have been in a deficit of 103 positions. Since then, you're about to consider eliminating 3 automotive repair technicians, which are the folks that fix our buses. These are critical positions. If our buses aren't running and we're not transporting our kids, you're not going to get the ADA that we need. There are critical positions that I need to remind you have been vacant since the SERP. And I know that the decisions that you're making are critical, and they've been critical all morning. And I do want to commend everybody who's taken. You care. We all care about our kids. That's why we're here. And we're trying to make the best decisions possible. And I want to say thank you, first and foremost. But I also want to ask you to remember that in the past, you have frozen the positions, you haven't eliminated them, and you've been able to take those realized dollars without eliminating the positions. I want to make sure that you get a legal opinion on that, because I've heard 2 different opinions regarding that, and Mr. DeBeck focused in on that the last public meeting. And I believe that you can take the resources of those positions and not eliminating them. And that's what we're asking you. We recognize that the need is present, but we need to be able to have access to those positions, because the work is only going to pile on. And you will be hearing from us at that point in time. So I'm saying to you, make the business decision. Don't eliminate them. Take the resources that you need, but by eliminating them, you put us in an uphill battle in trying to ensure that our systems are operational in the fall. Thank you.
And I apologize. Bobby Hatchett had signed up to speak prior. It's not here. Okay, so I'll just call out the names just again. Gabriel Grande and Denise Rasmussen are not here. Yep.
My name is Denise Rasmussen, and I'm a parent. And I'm a wife of a teacher that puts an awful lot of time. It's been pink slipped and unable to get a job in any district because of not being able to be tenured anywhere. I'm speaking on behalf. I don't believe that he'll have a position next year because of the state crisis that we're in. But I see him work, and I see the support staff get pulled from him. We buy all the black markers for him to use in the classroom. We see copy people get cut that support them. We make copies at home when need be, and we give them to the students because that's their passion and their need. When you cut support for teachers, you impact the classroom. You impact the time that's available for those teachers to be doing things that are meaningful to students. They need the time to, we don't need to be going to Kinko's. We don't need to be running around to go to Walmart or trying to find some bargain way to buy black markers because the blue and the green and everything else doesn't work that we buy anyway to be used in our classrooms. We need to keep the focus of what education means, and that is providing support positions so that teachers can do their job, despite the fact that many of us that have teachers in our families are losing our jobs. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Koba, do you have an update on the question Mr. DeBeck raised at the last meeting about the need to eliminate these positions?
Yes, Mr. Barrera, that we have both a professional external auditor opinion from Nigro and White, and also a teleconference and email from the county office, Deputy Soup for Business, and both have agreed that generally accepted accounting practice would be to eliminate them because you can't have both a budgeted position and not a matching expense or cost without total elimination. So that's what we provided to the board. What I'd like to suggest as well, I recognize that the elimination is needed to balance the budget. What I'd like to suggest is in the coming year is that HR and the respective organizations and represented unions work together as there is attrition to see if we can't trade out positions from the list there as new positions come open so that we get some validation between essentiality of need. But the opinion is that we should be eliminating them for the balancing in the accounting practices.
All right, do we have a motion to support the elimination of these classified vacant positions? Do we have a motion from Ms. Nakamura? Do we have a second?
I will second so we can discuss it.
Okay. Discussion, Dr. Evans?
Well, I think we have asked about this legal opinion to make sure that things are being done properly. And that for us the legal opinion we've consistently gotten is that for us to realize the savings in the budget, it requires the elimination of the positions. However, I think it's important for all of our employees to understand, at least from my point of view, that that our intention is basically to freeze these positions, and that we know that we cannot have them right now, and so our action is basically to freeze them. Because of certain accounting rules, the positions are going to be eliminated. To counter this, the only option that we have come up with is to have a very clear restoration plan, so that we will demonstrate on paper the intent of the board that we need to have this many custodians, we need to have this many landscapers, we need to have all of these different categories. However, in this emergency, we cannot fund those positions, and so to balance the budget they need to be eliminated, but we have a very specific plan for restoring them, because I think this is the biggest concern. A position is eliminated and it's gone away. I think from the previous information from the Portolan Group and other information we have gotten, even at the current level, just using custodians as an example, we are operating below where we should be operating, and yes, we're going even lower, but we need to make it very clear when we're operating below that this is constantly emphasized, that we are operating this organization in a subpar manner due to the extremely tight fiscal situation we're in, but it's not, we're getting by with it so that it's okay. We've seen what happens to our facilities when we don't take proper care of them, and that's just the price we have to pay for the crisis that we're in right now. So that's why I would support doing this at this point.
Mr. DeBeck?
Sure. Well, legal opinions or accounting opinions aren't always the same. But, I've seen the documentation about all these people, but I also asked for one thing that I didn't get, and it's also true that it's not in the state school accounting code that you can't have contra accounts. It's not there. It's not been done. That's true. Well, sometimes people have to do things that haven't been done. And so, while you guys may vote to do this, I believe that, and I saw these kind of specious arguments. Well, what about the negative part of the benefits? Well, then show that as a contra account. I have talked to plenty of accountants that understand this. And so, maybe school accounting people don't want to do it, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. It's sort of like, okay, let's find a place. If it hasn't been done, then we can't do it. Well, so what? I'm basically understand enough about accounting to know that when you have a balanced budget, you have a balanced budget. And that you can show in it the things that are negatives as well as positives. And so, if people want to invent a regulation or say, no, you can't do it because it's never been done, I'm not comfortable with that, If you guys wanted to make a motion, but I never heard it, that you were going to eliminate the positions but guarantee to everyone else that they will all be restored before any new positions were offered, you might have gotten a different kind of vote from me. But that hasn't been done, and the creative thinking that I would expect to have happen hasn't happened, so I'm going to vote no on this motion.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this, and I'd also like to thank staff for the extraordinary amount of time that you have spent in researching this and finding a professional position that is up to date, current on current law, not only in the education code, but with professional practice throughout the state of California. And, I know that you have been very diligent and very careful in finding these answers for us. And I just want to express my appreciation for that. We pay you good money for this, and you've got the background and the experience and the education. And I want to acknowledge that and thank you. So it's a tough question. Nobody wants to do this, and if we had found it out, it would have been nice. But everything has consistently said, unfortunately, that this is something that we have to do in order to have our report be accepted by the County Office of Education and by Sacramento. So thank you.
Mr. Koba, could you clarify? I heard what you just said about making sure that we put a process into place if these positions are eliminated. But so, for instance, what we just heard today, we heard a critical need for mail clerks, for relief truck driver, for 3 automotive repair technicians. What's the process now if we take this vote to immediately analyze whether those positions need to be brought back?
What I think, Ms. Brewer, is that you eliminate these positions, you manage the positions eliminated through HR, and as we go through the cycle in front of us, and there will always be attrition, that we take a look at what's on this list and trade off of this list if, for some unknown reason today, there is another position that could be moved back and forth. This is really a balancing need. Without this money, you have to look for other cuts. So I'm just suggesting as we go through the year that we assess it that way.
Okay. Mr. DeBack?
Well, that's saying that the essential positions we have now, if they have attrition, that we'll replace them with other essential positions that we've abolished. That's an unusual accommodation. Basically, then we have the same problem. What we have is other essential positions that are not filled, and we've taken their positions and used them to cover the essential positions that we're now abolishing. I understand the game, but I don't understand the reality of it. I think that the real issue is, what does it take to run this district, and why don't we have an organization that we agree is the right organization and show unfilled positions as a accounting vacancy on cost? And if you can't do that, I don't think you're very creative, and I'm just going to just continue to vote no until I see somebody that tells me. And it's not a legal issue, it's an accounting issue. And it is not prohibited in the state accounting code.
Mr. Koba.
I would agree it's not in the state accounting code. But I would also say that the external auditor will give us an opinion, and so will the county. And we may have to adjust later. Don't think we want to take the risk of going out and being creative in our accounting for a $1 billion budget and have the external auditor, the county, and the state come back to us and say that we're either qualified or conditional. There are certain things I get concerned about in that regard.
We can do that with Title I, too. We could go out and support our positions on Title I anytime we feel like it.
Well, I have to say that as an attorney, one of the things I learned early in law school is that no one wants a particularly creative attorney or a particularly creative accountant, because that's how you end up in jail.
Accounting.
Okay, so on this measure, please vote.
Yes.
Okay, passes 3-2. All right, that concludes this meeting. I appreciate everybody for coming out on a Saturday morning.
We're done for the day, huh?
Done for today, yeah.